have kind of like one of the big things, or really kind of the big thing that went down this week. Of course, we've got Bedman had been released officially on Guilty Gear Strive. It was what was the actual patch itself? Patch was like 3 days ago. I was not day one. I was not day one. I was not day one Bedman. If y'all haven't noticed already, I was not day one Bedman. I did get to play and get my little thoughts on it, which we'll go into right now. But Bedman recently released. The patch notes had nothing other than obviously setting up for Bedman, all the things they've added, which was, you know, a lot of aesthetics, cosmetics, stuff like that. The character itself, theme, new stage, of course, as well. But with that, there were some tweaks to the characters. There was like a list of character patches. Nothing in terms of obviously battle adjustments. They were just focusing on quality of life issues here and there potentially. There was like a kind of I didn't realize I had the damn thing up in my notes. The only thing that I saw that was like slightly odd to me, which I'm still trying to figure out what it means, because I took it to training room and I'm not really sure as to what it was. But the patch itself talked about a kind of, not a nerf, but like a tweaking to Arsene with Sin. So yeah, this is version 1.26. Like I said, there's like tweaks here where, you know, can now be overwritten with faultless defense during inputs or during super flashes. It's just for different characters and all. Quality of life stuff. Happy Chaos got some sort of fire. Not always makes contact with the opponent when they are taking damage or in block stun. Oh, okay. I kind of hadn't really noticed that. Must be something rare. But like I said, the Sin Keyscape part, Hawk Baker or Baker, whatever it's called. The startup of Hawk Baker follow-up can no longer be Roman canceled. It remains possible to follow up with Gazelle Step as well as Roman cancel when the opponent is taking damage or blocking. Hawkbacher is his DP. If you didn't know, that was what it's actually called. It's his DP. Invo, really good get off me tool for meterless, and you can follow it up, right? You can cancel it afterwards with the swing or with the dash. So the startup of the follow-up can no longer be Roman canceled. I'm not sure as to what instance, because I was testing it in training, but I was still able to cancel. I don't know if it's potentially the dash that isn't allowed to be, but I don't know if it's just the way this was written kind of confused me a bit. So I just got to see if Sin Kiss got a bit of a like pseudo nerf right there, because then that makes the DP even more punishing. Because normally it's you don't want to block the DP as the opponent. You don't want to block the DP because you give them the ability to RC. DPs can only be RC'd if they hit or if they block. They can't RC it on whiff.
And that's pretty huge. I mean, it's like you have to hold it afterwards or even just eat a grab. Like
exactly.
It's almost scary. Like you have to either grab on the wake up if they're going to do it. Like it's really weird. You have to almost fix your playstyle.
Yeah. And then there's the gap in between, right? Because he goes up, then he comes down, right? Then comes down, and then you can then decide to pick the follow-up afterwards, which is where I'm trying to see if that's where they're tweaking at. But regardless,
that's the worst part. Exactly.
Yeah, it's the guess there. Yeah, because if you get counter hit there, it's not to say it's curtains, but it's gonna hurt. So with that, like I said, we got Bedman officially released, and it's a great time. The Twitter tech verse is going bananas. Everyone's tweeting, tagging. I don't know if you've seen, but Dustloop has the official actual like frames. Twitter tags and it has the frames, but also has the Twitter tags that people post on Twitter with, right? So if you're not in the know-how, if you're in looking for tech for a character in Guilty Gear, it's usually GGST_ and an abbreviation of the character. I believe for Bedman is just supposed to be GGST_BE or BED. Let me actually check right here. I got the Twitter tag available, locked and loaded, because I was definitely checking out what was going on with the character from my initial impressions to see if anyone else has done it. So yeah, it's Twitter GGST_BE for any kind of Twitter tech you want on this character. But yeah, there is quite a lot. I've had so this is my process when it comes to dealing with a new character. I definitely go into the lab, to training room, and the first thing I look at is movement. It's like a weird. I have like a 3-step program. It's movement. It's then I start looking at just their buttons overall, just how they feel in terms of gaps, strings, and such. Just trying to get an idea of certain situations. Try to combine the two. Air movement with certain buttons, weird angles, possibly like jump cancelable moments or any jump cancelable areas where you can possibly press a button in between and kind of help theory craft the rest of the kit with it. And usually my third step is then finally taking my ideas and looking to Twitter to see if I'm seeing any of my ideas fleshed out, because there's already amazing just training room monsters out there that are just putting in hella hours that I don't have all the time to do. So I have to go check it out and see, which is why I love the internet so much. So yeah, the character itself, Bedman, I think has a lot of utility. It is not, they're not going to be easy to pick up, I'll tell you right now. To at least to get to the super advanced level. I mean, maybe in the beginning it's going to seem simple enough, right? You got your projectile, you've got your specials, you got your version of Beyblade, right? You've got your bomb, your overhead, and then you got the pseudo regular stuff for 2K, 2D. What does jump dust? Your Gatlings from jump dust, or your air Gatlings, things like that. But the kit is what you really got to look at when it comes to how they design the character. So, the follow-ups are the biggest thing, in my opinion. The follow-ups are the biggest piece to the kit, because you can do a projectile and then you have to wait on the actual follow-up. You do any special, you have the follow-up, and the utility from the follow-ups is what's important, because you don't have to, you can control it, obviously. You can store it, or you can, outright just let it go instantly. Or you can time it and throw things off for your opponent, right? And actually just really play the game you want to play with Bedman. But the follow-ups are, I want to say, they are number one. Number two is movement for me, though. Which we'll go into movement in a sec. But how are you feeling about the character so far? I know you've only gotten so much time, but yeah. I got to play the character, but I also got to play against the character a bit too.
Yeah, no, I only got to take it to training mode, and I can't get out of the dash, like the air dashing, the air movement. I can't understand it. It's because if you push forward, apparently they stand there. Mm-hmm. Then you push forward and move. So yes. I'm just not used to that as of yet. I'm gonna get down to that. Trust me, maybe. I don't know. Maybe never. But I do like that there are moves that can sort of fit together. But the character seems very deep for me. Like, that was what intimidated me from actually bringing it into training mode. I just wasn't sure how fast I wanted to go into it, or even that's also what sort of steered me away from Jacko, is that there's a setup heavy character that has a lot of layers.
The learning curve.
I don't know if I want to actually put my time into it, but go ahead.
So the way the levels usually go, like, you got your beginner stuff, you got the intermediate, and your advanced. Usually the biggest gap to move is from that intermediate to advanced, because like right there in the center is like this it's like this little pocket that I like to call an ad break, because that's what we're about to get into real quick, is an ad break. We'll be right back after this, guys. Don't go anywhere. All right, see, it's easy to get through that intermediate to advanced spot. You guys are natural at this, but no, seriously, from following up what you said, the character has layers. Like this is definitely an onion ass character, because there are so many layers to them, and to play them effectively, especially at a high level, is things you're gonna look at are like, is it worth the time, right? Or not just worth the time, but like, how much damage do you get out of putting this much work? Do they play like a worse other character? Like, how does their kit really, does it create unique situations for them to play your play style that maybe you like? I think this character honestly plays a lot like Baiken. It's gonna sounds very weird for me to say, but I instantly started getting the same feel of gameplay, because there's a lot of guessing, to be honest. Early on, once again, this is all within the first week. It's gonna be a little bit before we kind of get through it all, it feels like a lot of guessing. It's just a couple extra layers. Instead of the matte instead of there being a mat, there's like kind of like a time. They would like a timed tatami. How disgusting would it feel if there was like a timed mat flip where that you had to deal with? If it was timed, or if I decide to press it, it just shows up, right? It's kind of that with the special moves. But the reason I say guessing is because there are routes that I already felt because of the mobility, the 8-way dash, or just the way the dashing is in general. Because this character has unique dash. There's only one of the only other character, actually, the only other character that has any kind of air dashing difference from everyone else in the game is Ino, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else is your typical, you get the little dust magic loop behind you and you get the dash forward, right? Except for Pot, which doesn't have any kind of air momentum, obviously, but that's normal. Ino's is different, and Bedman's is different. Bedman just is like a different way of doing the same thing, but there's just a lot more utility because of the way, for one, it's 8-way, and two, there's things like, dust. You can dash into a series of air buttons to then to air dust, and then you can actually still like air dash out of it, which is kind of crazy. So you almost get like two. I don't know if it's intentional, to be honest, but it kind of works for what I've seen early on in the tech. But I started dashing instantly. I started triangle dashing with the character. It was easier to do on. I can see it being way easier to do with you have the dash macro, because having to actually forward in a button. I don't know any Bedman player that's actually going to be using it that way. That's like, if you do, then you're gonna have crazy stick control. But for me, the dash button is just imperative for this character, and I just started getting a feel for the actual motion. And like I said, kind of going back to my original point, so why it feels a bit like Baiken is because the way I'm seeing RC being used, like outside of very simple returns you're trying to get off of hits, counter hits are insane, right? You get counter hit. I mean, that's in this game in general, right? You get counter hit in this game, you just literally explode. But the other piece is using 50 tension to then get a instant overhead, high-low guess, fuzzy guard like setup is kind of second nature to this character from what I've seen. It's kind of like the most common thing I've seen so far in the Twitterverse talk. So like, that's basically what Baiken does, is just makes you guess, like, high low grab. Maybe there's frame traps, there's close slash to close slash again. There's a couple of natural kind of frame traps, like one or two small ones I've seen. There's a lot of burst safe stuff. It's just the way like your character bounces around. You've seen a lot of the combos from Bedman. Like, your character is constantly just kind of getting juggled like in front of you. Like, it's not so much of you're just getting a long string of combos in. It's just like the juggling between the moves or the buttons, like just keeping you high, is kind of like, it's pretty normal. So it kind of like when you burst, you tend to burst up. So like it leaves certain situations that you just, the burst never touches Bedman. So you're kind of like naturally safe, which is kind of gross.
iPhone put out I don't know if you saw his recent one, where you can DP, or you can sort of do a jump D onto someone and then able to jump out of, I guess, it, or maybe jump out of it as soon as you get on the ground.
Yeah, it counts. It counts as a ground move. Yeah, I saw that, and then I saw that early on. Then I tested. I was like, oh yeah, you can air dash into then something into air dust, and then you can then still air dash out. So you kind of have two instances of air mobility. It's weird. That's why I said I don't know if that's intentional. But once again, it's within the week. It's the first week of the game. But the character is looking strong. I haven't checked. Actually, I haven't checked the good old the Bible that is Dust Loop to see if what the differences are in terms of health and all. But I'm assuming Bedman's like tanky.
Some people were using them at our local, but it was more for like a troll. It was like two players that play each other all the time used it in like winners finals.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What's it say? What's it say? Pick if you like what?
Pick if you like complex, tricky pressure, variety of high lows, and frame traps that are easy to chain together. Projectiles and disjoints that can threaten at different areas. Yeah, there are actually some really good buttons. I looked very, very early on that just there are some hitboxes, like even 5K. Like there's the good substantial, not substantial, but like at least half of the actual hitbox area of it. It's not low. Like there's no area that's actually hit down here, but it's almost it's pretty far. It's outside of an actual hurt box. There's a just disjointed one somewhat, like far slash is a go-to. Like the front of it is there's no hurt box for it, so you can't clash. 5HS, which 5H, which is the overhead, I believe. No, sorry, that's just standard 5H. Pretty good. You know, it's a little slow, right? The start of 13 frames, but still pretty good. Then some of the command normals are also pretty solid. 2HS is such a troll move. But there's the character, the 6P, by the way, is also like really awesome to look at. Like look at that joint. Like, yeah, it's the head for sure, but the way the animation is kind of wild. It doesn't actually start coming in till the head goes like halfway through the body. But
yeah, you have to really start it very early.
Yeah, for sure. JK, like this button is so stupid with the dashing. JS is also really good, like for air. So there's like I said, there's like this mid-rangey game you're gonna play, very similar to Baiken. Could play close up, but once you start kind of locking in those those tools on you, like, you know, you do a projectile, like I definitely play a projectile, you know, a fireball war there.